Hey, welcome back to the Windows 8 for IT Pros Jumpstart. I'm Senior Technical Evangelist Joey Snow.
And I'm Senior Product Marketing Manager Stephen Rose with the Windows team.
Module 6.
Module 6, Recovery and Security.
We've done 5 previous modules, so if you're coming in late, you're going to want to make sure you go back and take a look at those 5 previous modules.
Or if you're watching this on demand, scroll up to find the other ones.
Absolutely. So what have we talked about prior to this, Stephen?
Let us look at our agenda.
All right.
So we've covered Windows 8 tips and tricks for IT pros. We've talked deeply about Windows deployment, including going from Windows XP to Windows 8 and building some apps right into that. We've talked about accessing Windows. We've talked about anywhere productivity, Windows to go mobility, Windows 8 and Windows 8 apps, and that brings us to where we are currently at, Windows recovery and security.
So new features, but familiar tools as we start moving forward with recovery and security. Now, I'm a fan of a lot of these features that we're going to be talking about here. Protecting your devices, protecting your data, and then being able to have secure access to stuff and recover systems when they go down.
Absolutely. So to kind of break it down, if we take a look, BitLocker and Dart, but we do some new stuff in BitLocker. I love the fact, and this was a big complaint from a lot of folks, that they would go to BitLock their drive, it was 500 gigs and it would take them just way too long.
Yes.
Now with BitLocker, we have the option to choose just to encrypt data only. So if you have a 500 gig drive but only have 40 gigs of data, it's going to do it pretty quickly and it will just continue to encrypt on the fly. This is also good now as we're getting into larger removable storage media like USB drives and things where that becomes a big aspect. Safe mode, system restore, of course, we've added, and people are familiar with in Windows 7. But for Windows 8, we've upped that. So let's take a look at what's new.
What's new? Well, refresh and reset. There's going to be a lot of new scenarios that we can support with this. So they're kind of two different things that do the same thing, in other words. It basically allows me, as an IT administrator, to actually create an image, get everything loaded how I want it, and then store that. So if a user needs to refresh their machine, so say they've installed a bunch of other stuff, things are going a little bit wonky, they can go ahead and refresh it. When they refresh it, keeps all your user settings. Right?
If we take a look at the General tab, we'll go here into this machine. It gives us some great things. First of all, it tells us how much available storage we have. So I'm here inside of, let's actually show how we got here. So I'm here at my desktop, Charms bar, Windows C, settings. I go down to change PC settings. I'm going to go down to General, and I'm going to scroll down, and I get this. So the first thing is I can view all my app sizes. So it will go out, and it will tell me how many apps, how big they are. If I'm running out of space, I can take a look and say, you know what, this is taking up a lot of room, this isn't, etc. So I have a way to go in here and then go back and then uninstall those. Now, these are the 3 key ones. Refresh your PC without affecting your files, remove everything and reinstall Windows, and then, of course, advanced startup options. So refresh, if the PC isn't running right, this is sort of like when we used to ask you to put in the startup media and go through, and it would try to kind of fix everything and things weren't working right, and that's exactly what's going to happen. We would click Start. Personalization files won't change. PC settings will be changed back to their default, so you may lose some customization. Apps from Windows Store are kept. Apps you installed from disk or website will be removed, so you may have to reinstall that. So anything that you've put in, it's going to remove it, trying to fix that out. And a list of removed apps will be saved to your desktop, so you will have a list of that, and then we would go through. So that is refreshing your PC. Removing everything and reinstalling Windows, this is great if one of 2 scenarios. You want to give your PC to somebody else, you literally hit this button, point it towards the install media, let it rip, which is great. It's going to take it right back to the, hi, welcome to Windows, let's walk you through everything that you put on that machine, is going to put it right back to the factory settings. The drivers will be kept, but the apps, everything that was customizable by you will be removed and brings it back to that point. And then, of course, advanced startup, where we can go back to that USB or DVD drive if something is so badly damaged in the OS where we can't even get to that. It would allow us to go back to our system image, restart the PC, walk its way through, and try to restore it back to that point. So these are a few examples of that, of what's available to everybody as part of that.
Now, as an IT administrator, one of the things that I'm able to do is I'm actually able to create one of these refresh images, and it's very, 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 did I mention it's very simple?
It's very
simple. If you'll see here, I've got a command. All I have to do is run this command on a system to capture that image. It is rec image / create image followed by the location to which you would like to store the image. It's that easy. So rec image is the command / create image, followed by the path to where your image is. And then I could also use the rec image command. If you do a /?, you can go through and see the various recovery images that exist on the system, et cetera, et cetera. Very, very simple to do.
Nice. So we also have some new secure boot options, which we'll talk about in a few moments, and we'll get into that. But UEFI is really sort of the key there. And the key thing to understand about UEFI is it is system on a chip. And what it's going to do, and I think the best way to discuss it and kind of let people understand what it means is, it's very hard to change the tire on a moving car.
Yeah.
Putting it up on jacks, moving the tires, putting it back, it's great. And that's what UEFI, Secure Boot and Manage Boot, does. Is it's going to go in, it sees virus, it sees malware, something like that. It's going to reboot itself. It's going to go into the mini OS on the chip, sort of like Mark Rusinovich's MinWin, but different and smaller and better. It's going to upload it. It's going to get rid of whatever's in there. It's going to fix it. It's going to look for any problems. It's going to repair those and then let the OS happen. It's going to happen right at boot. So it's going to really sort of enable our users to go, hey, I have a problem. How do I fix that? By simply rebooting, it should do that. And that's kind of a critical area, and I think that that's one of the really exciting new features. So if we jump back to our slide deck, we have the system restore, safe mode related, different paths for recovery. So, you know, the tools still work. The boot options are still used for providing recovery. The refresh and reset provide that clean installation, which is great. It's going to restore that computer back to the previous state. So we've kind of walked through how those works, which is great, and it will really get us back to a really good state, and it's a great opportunity for users. The reset and refresh, as we said.
We talked about all this. Yep.
Refreshes the personalization and resets format and reinstalls. So if we take a look just quickly at the difference between the two, again, the refresh keeps your data, keeps the apps, doesn't format. Reset does not keep customizations. It will format the drive. It basically reinstalls Windows 8 automatically for you, which is great.
So we kind of quickly showed you how it's created. I don't know that I think refreshing a PC is pretty simple. You showed the
I think we've been
button.
through it. Yeah, I don't
absolutely,
think there's a whole lot of need.
Absolutely.
But Dart, there was a lot of interest in Dart. So
yeah, absolutely.
You were gonna add something first. Yeah.
Before we jump to Dart, those folks that are at home that are on the full screen mode, don't forget to check for polls. We've got some important polls coming up. In fact, they say 3 important polls. So you don't want to be high in the sky in your hot air balloon and miss those polls.
yes, that'd be very bad.
All right, let's talk about the Dart.
Dart.
Diagnostics and recovery tool set, right? You love these tools. I love these tools. I've used these tools to save myself, as have you. These tools have been updated for Windows 8 because there's a lot of differences in Windows 8, particularly how it boots, right? The different partition tables, and then also having support of UEFI BIOSes, which we'll talk about shortly.
Yep. And we're going to walk through these all step by step as we do this. So
yeah, absolutely. So a couple of things that you need to be aware about as far as Dart is concerned. It's part of MDOP.
Yep.
So we've gone through those requirements just really quickly. Part of having an enterprise agreement software assurance.
Yep.
Or you can get the MDOP tools by having a subscription to Windows Intune and paying the additional $1 per PC per month. To install the Dart toolkit, you need to first have the assessment and deployment toolkit, the ADK, installed on your machine.
Yep. By the way, this will also work on Windows Server 2012, and that's important to point out too. This isn't just a client tool. This is also a server tool too.
Yep, so we've got to make sure that we have the ADK already installed. And then not so much a requirement, but having the debugger tools really kind of helps, particularly if you're going to go looking after what caused a machine.
Yeah, where you can basically take your blue screen dumps and you can figure out what's wrong. So the first one we'll talk about here is the Reimagine Recovery Image Wizard, which is a great feature within that. So PowerShell script generation will create an x86 or x64 from the same workstation. It'll generate a WIM or an ISO image file. We can build this onto a CD, a DVD, or a USB drive to be able to do this. So we have a lot easier now to create this Dart toolkit, boot up off of USB, build a quick CD, whatever it is they want, we can do 64-bit and x86, one version. We don't need to go, I don't know if it's 64, 32, let's try it. It's all in there at once, which is really, really nice.
I've actually been doing this on my own machines. I actually create my own recovery image and partition and have the tools there.
Yeah.
So if anything really malfunctions, I don't have to go through and create this or use it or anything else. I've got it here right on my machine. full PowerShell functionality.
Right,
in
and that's
this
what I'm
guy,
talking about, the
too.
improved
Yeah,
scripting,
absolutely.
PowerShell commandlets and DISM commandlets, which is really, really great. And all of this is going to provide some end-to-end coverage of the image generation process.
Yeah, creating that Dart recovery image. So
You want to talk about how to do it?
Yeah, let's absolutely. Let me show you
do a little
how
demo.
we kind of do it. I mentioned before one of the prerequisites that we have is that we have the assessment and deployment toolkit. I've got my programs and features here, just so to show everybody where I went to get those. I've done a Windows key X. Right, my favorite shortcut. Got to programs and features. You'll notice that I have the assessment and deployment kit here. I've also got the Windows driver kit installed. Another piece if we're going to be installing those network drivers. I love when I do recoveries to have access to the internet if I possibly can, so I can go get bits and pieces that I may need to help with that. And then I've also got, as part of the toolkit, I also have access to the debugger, though that's not really specifically required. All right, so how am I going to create this? I'm going to go here and I'm going to type Dart. I've already got Dart installed here, right? So I'm going to create the recovery image. This is the image that I'm either going to put on a USB media,
Right.
I'm going to make an ISO
CD
converter to a
out of
CD,
it, yeah.
or I'm going to create a partition on my machine and
Yeah.
I'm going to put it there.
Right.
Right? So we'll go ahead and select the type of Dart image to create. In this case, I'm going to create a, let's do 64-bit type here. And let's get a path to my install media. It should be, no, it's not there. Let's do D. Sources, Windows 8. Oh. Is that? Let me get the right path here for you guys. D sources Windows 8. I think it should find it there.
That's all you need.
Yeah. All right. And we'll let that just chug along there. Okay. Dart has lots of tools.
Yeah, Locksmith. I like me some Locksmith.
I love me some Locksmith.
Because I get people all the time that show up at my house going, "Hi, I can't remember my password and I can't get into my Windows machine." And normally the answer to most of these folks is, "I'm sorry, if you can't remember your password, there's no way to recover. You got to wipe your machine, lose all the pictures of your kids." So you tell them, this is my favorite part. Let's bring the camera back. So here's my favorite part. When these people show up at your door, you say, "This could take me weeks to do. You know, you're a really good friend. I feel bad. I'm going to spend some time and do this for you. Give me 4 or 5 days to do this." And they're going to feel horrible. But for you, this could take hours, but I'm going to do it. Just give me some time. Close the door, skulk away, put in your Dart, unlock it, take you about 2-3 minutes, and then wait 3 to 4 days to call that person back. Tell them you're exhausted, you've been up all night doing this, but you have a CD-ROM filled with every picture that was ever on their machine. If there's not a case of beer in it for you at that point, I got nothing. So, and people will be forever in your debt, and all you can do is go, "Thanks, Dart." It's really, it's that great. I love Locksmith, and seriously, people have said, "My kid changed my password, I don't know what they did." I can go in, I can unlock that. Or if people have non-domain joined machines in an enterprise environment, "Hey, can't figure this one out," or they send me a machine to fix and they can't remember and they're out of the country, I have ways to go in and I can go fix that, which is great.
One caveat that folks at home should be aware of, the Dart Locksmith tool does not work to recover a domain administrator.
That's correct. They'll only do a
account.
local password.
Correct. Only a local password. So domain administrator can't go in if somebody's lost the domain admin password.
Should be able to
on
find
there,
their local account,
you're
which
gonna
should
have to
hopefully get you in.
recover back previously. All right. Back to the demo here. A couple of additional tools. Obviously, computer management. Love the fact that I can go in, go access files using Explorer. Crash Analyzer, determine exactly the cause of a particular crash
Huge.
by reviewing that log. Disk wipe, being able to completely erase all of the data. File Explorer, we all know what that is. File restore
Let
files.
me ask you, if we're building this, can we still use this on Windows 7 and Windows Vista and Windows XP, or do we have to have a different version for each one?
So I've noticed that this particular one, I can go back to Windows 7 on
Yeah.
with the bulk of these tools.
And you can actually go back to Windows Vista, but not before that. Windows
Okay.
is not going to work on Windows XP. There was a different version that was built for Windows XP.
So I know
it kinda
Windows
goes
7
over
just
there.
because that's what my
Yeah,
personal experience
absolutely.
was. So Vista, hey, all right, cool. So you can
Any
recover those vistas.
modern OS, you should be good.
Modern.
That's what we refer to it.
All right. So let's go ahead. Let's do everything except for Locksmith.
I like hotfix uninstalled. One or two others want to talk about. The hotfix uninstall is great. Let's say you installed a hotfix and it crashed up the machine.
Yes.
Good
Be
one
able to
that you
quickly
can
go
run
back
there.
and do it if
Absolutely.
you can't go in. If you're like me, I'm one hard drive space is a premium on my machine.
Yeah.
I am always turning off all the different checkpoints and recovery points. So
that's a good one. Disk wipe, another good one. If somebody says, hey, can you just wipe my machine real quick? Boot it up, disk wipe does it. And the Defender is really great because it will go through. If you think you have a malware attack, you can boot up off of this and try to remove the malware from this, because it's taking, again, the disk offline and doing it. A lot of what UEFI does that, but on a Windows 7 or a Windows 8 machine without UEFI, it's really going to come in and bring it over.
I've probably used Defender and that feature.
I have several times.
Probably about as much as I've used the
Locksmith and some of the
tool.
other ones. Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. All right, so we're going to go ahead and this is kind of cool. I can allow remote connectivity to a help desk.
Yep.
By having this. So if my users are somewhere and there's an issue, I have them restart into this recovery partition.
Yep.
And then I have them choose the remote connections.
Yep.
They give me the trouble ticket number, which comes up on the screen, and I'm able then to take over the machine. And when I have control of that machine and I'm doing functionality, I'm working on it, their mouse and keyboard doesn't work.
Right, yeah, it
So they
completely
can't get in the
disables
way.
all the
So,
input.
Yep, I'm
Right.
able to go through and run the Dart tools. Run the Dart tools completely. Another cool thing you'll notice here, and I'll show you this. I've actually chosen not to install Locksmith here.
Yeah, probably a good idea on a recovery.
On a recovery image. However, if I have got remote connectivity as an administrator, I can still run Locksmith
Yes, you can.
from that machine,
That's right.
which is actually really, really cool. So let's go ahead and allow remote connections and let Windows port that. I want to add some drivers here. In this case, I want to add some Intel drivers here. So sources and device drivers, and we'll do the Intel wireless devices there. So I've got some good drivers there for my networking.
Again, if you built that driver cache in MDT, you could just pull right from that
Sure.
on that central store.
Absolutely. I could create a WIM, create an ISO, create a PowerShell script. I could do all three. In this case, we'll do everything except for the PowerShell script. I don't really need to add any more. I can do some more advanced
I think we're
testing,
good.
but I think we'll just go ahead and create this. So this is going to go ahead and create these Dart tools here.
Yep.
So we'll go ahead and let it create the image and get everything built here. A lot of times I actually would, I could probably go and download one of Mark's tools and crash my machine and we can go in and show that. But I think that's a little bit
Mark
much.
has got tons of, Mark Rusinovich has got tons of videos up, things we can watch. There's plenty of things you can see on doing that. Go to Mark's website. We don't need to spend time here doing that, but it is out there and you can see how this works and it is great to be able to see.
And so once this actually completes up here, Stephen, we'll go ahead and I'll grab the ISO and then we'll just mount it up and boot the machine to it so you can actually see what it looks like. But we'll let it build here. Let's jump over here in terms of any additional slides that we have regarding
let's bring this up real quick. So what we said is, you can build that CD or USB. We can install that manually. We can make that part of MDT deployment. System Center Configuration Manager with SP1, or we can do it through WDS. We can install all these features. So when we take a look at the deployment choices on how to do this, we can do a manual or local install. Again, I'll let you just kind of take a look at this chart. It really walks through how this is going to work and how this is basically built out. So it's a good time to just let you guys look at that.
One other key point here with the Defender, what we can actually do with Defender is we can actually set up to have it go out and update its virus definitions and everything at the time of the Dart installation.
Yep.
So that's also very easy to do. All right, so what I'm doing now is I am just going to get a machine up. My image is actually created, so I have copied it over. So I'll show you here. Again, I'm using Client Hypervisor, Client Hyper-V.
Or Clipervisor,
Or
as we have
he likes
coined it earlier.
to dub it, Clipervisor. And hopefully it's booting to Dart, but I don't believe it is.
Dart is limited to TechNet Plus subscribers or to VL, volume license.
Yeah, as part of MDOP.
As part of MDOP, yes, correct.
So let's do this. I think I might have missed the button to press any key to boot from the media.
And let me tell you something, when that tool was sold separately, when it was the old Winternals tool, it was well over $1,000, and that was like 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So really, it is a great value, and you may already realize, again, you may already have this and not realize it. So make sure to talk. If you've got volume license, say, hey, do I have access to MDOP, and how do I get this stop? Make sure that you jump up. You've got that. You've got support calls. You've got help from our field. You've got exam vouchers. You've got some great information. So make sure that you really leverage that and use that. TechNet Plus subscription also gives you exam vouchers and support and things like that too. So there's some great things in there. So make sure that you leverage that.
Yep.
All right, what do we got here?
We are booting up here. Dart's going to ask me, hey, would I like to initialize network connectivity in the background? In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and skip that because I don't need it.
Yep.
We're going to choose the US keyboard layout. And now you'll see here, I can now troubleshoot my installation. And so this is part of those advanced options that we have in terms of boot. So I could refresh my PC here. I could choose to reset my machine, and we talked about that earlier.
We talked about those features that were in Windows 8, but here I can do it from a remote boot if I can't get to those options.
Exactly. I also have some more advanced options to boot. Now, your normal computer, you can do this without even attaching Dart to, just by simply going in and choosing the advanced start options. Or if your machine doesn't start successfully after a couple of tries,
it will run some of these automatically, yes.
But see here, in this particular machine, I've got access to the recovery, diagnostics and recovery tool set. And so here, obviously, Locksmith is unavailable because I currently don't have that actually running. But you'll see here, I can open up Explore. I can take a look and see what everything is on this machine, right? So you'll see here, I actually don't have too much on this machine.
No, but if you did, you could get all those pictures back in the key sales figures.
Exactly, and pull them all right onto an external drive. I could wipe this machine down. I've got Defender, so I could scan for malware, everything else that I needed to do here. Recover any deleted files that I have, go into the registry, adjust any registry adjustment, make any registry adjustments. So it's very easy. And then here's that remote connection option I showed you. You can simply, I don't have remote connections because I didn't initialize the network, but I could click that. It pops up a UI that just basically says, here's the trouble ticket number, here's the port, tell that to your help desk technician. Help desk technician can simply launch it from their side, enter the ticket number, enter in the port number, boom, they've got access.
Dart is an awesome tool. We encourage you to check it out. Tons of great books on it too that you can go into and you can take a look at. So really wonderful stuff. I love me some Dart.
Love us some Dart. So
all right, let's take a look at some of the other enterprise security features. So, we've built on those Windows 7 technologies, enhanced BitLocker. We'll talk about that in a moment. We'll talk about UEFI and the Windows Defender and Firewall. So, what's nice to know about BitLocker, like I said, we can either choose to encrypt the whole disk or just the data, but it will do the encryption if we choose just do data. As we add additional data, it will do it at rest, which is really, really nice as we go back. So it's not going to slow down your machine. It's going to do that really, really nicely, which is nice. It does look at data protection. This is also available on Windows Server 2008 R2 and Windows 7, and then we took that up so it's part of Server 2012 and Windows 8.
So a question I get all the time on BitLocker. What's my impact on saving files and everything? Do you notice it? My answer to that, I've been running BitLocker because it's a requirement here.
Yeah.
We have to have all of our machines have BitLocker.
And BitLocker to go, yeah.
I don't notice any overhead. I don't know about you. I've not noticed anything.
Doesn't slow down boots or anything along that line. Every drive is encryption, BitLocker to go, absolutely.
That way that, we can ensure that any data that I have, I travel with a bunch of USB drives with stuff. I want to make sure that I don't lose that somewhere and to have anything. Right? Even if it's just pictures of my kids. I don't want any of that stuff anywhere.
Absolutely. We don't want to let that get out.
No way.
So TPM support, also now we have the TPM 2.0 support and the cryptoability. So BitLocker now includes support for TPM 2.0, which TPM 2.0 comes with cryptoability, which is essentially means that the encryption algorithm that's used by TPM can be replaced later. This can be in case a future encryption algorithm comes out that is better or stronger, that we can go ahead and we can replace and upgrade that. So that's
it's future-proofing it, basically.
It's future-proofing
it, where we can adjust and support those upper level or newer encryption or TPM modules. Absolutely.
So we're supporting things like E-drives. We have SAN support now, so we can encrypt during the install. And performance is improved with the new BitLocker space encryption, which is really great. And that's one of my favorite pieces. Put in two drives side by side, say I'm going to do this whole one, this one with data. The first 30 seconds, they take the same amount of time, then one literally jumps and is done while the other one continues to chug around.
That was huge for me because I just got a new 1 terabyte drive.
Yeah.
And I only had like 60 meg of stuff.
Exactly,
And,
yeah.
and before, to BitLocker and 1 terabyte drive, I'd start it and walk away and come back later. Now it's just doing that, 40 meg of stuff that I actually had.
Also, we now support iSCSI and Fiber Channel. That was another big thing that was critical to a lot of users. So the new recovery options, SkyDrive is new, which is really great. We have the ability to escrow the recovery key on SkyDrive. We can use this for computers that are not joined to a domain. The recovery password can be operated system data, removable volumes, can be escrowed to SkyDrive, so we can do that. Or, of course, as we've had since Windows 7, it can be saved in Active Directory, so user plugs in, we can recover that and bring that out. So that is a really nice
Used it.
feature. Used it?
Used it.
Yeah, I have too.
I've lost my recovery key and gone,
I had a
"Oh."
really old machine that I had set aside for a long time, found it, couldn't remember what it was, went online to the portal, ran through what it told me to do, came back, gave it to me, I was able to get in, which was great. I was very impressed.
I was very happy because it was my main machine. And
Good job, Microsoft IT. Yay. All right. Moving forward, Numis group policy settings, which is great. So we've now allowed settings around the unlock method, how to recover protected drives, encryption ciphers, and of course we can use group policies to enforce that. Password protectors for non-TPM machines, which of course we can do, and same with Windows to Go drives, Active Directory or network, we've talked about that. And Windows RT device encryption, this is not BitLocker.
Right.
This is drive encryption. So Windows RT devices are encrypted out of the box. It's a form of BitLocker, but let's not call it BitLocker. But it has been optimized for slate form factors by enabling a TPM-only protector. It's encrypted on write, and much like with the Windows Phone, it basically does the whole drive. If you pull it out, even if it's 2 drives, it treats it as one, etc. And there is trusted boot with Windows RT devices to make sure for boot integrity that we don't have problems.
But we
with
don't
that.
have management of this encryption
But we
via
do not.
something like MBAM or some of those tools, right?
Let's talk about some MBAM.
Let's talk of some
good
MBAM.
Seg. So MBAM is our enterprise tool for it is our enterprise level BitLocking tool. It provides encryption, compliance, and reporting and role-based access control splits. MBAM, or Microsoft BitLocker Administration, again part of MDOT. It can audit access to encryption keys. It can allow users to reset and manage. It does meet the FIPS compliancy for single recovery keys. So we can build and say it has to be this complex. This is how the pins work. It really becomes a good way if you're going to roll out MBAM within your organization. It really is a must-have tool to be able to do that. You want to talk a little bit about the System Center integration? Have you played with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, coming with System Center Configuration Manager 2012 Service Pack 1 or SP1, which is just now entered in, it's in beta customer preview phases, so you can go out and check it out now. You have the ability to go in and do a lot of the configuration and management of your Windows 8 devices with that SP1 installation. There's a couple things real fast that before we jump forward, I want to kind of hit these real quick. There's some questions here. Are you able to customize the refresh image? I want to address that because as Stephen mentioned, and we showed this, with your refresh image, while your user data and stuff is still there, you're going to lose some of these applications. This is not an image basically for deployment.
Yeah.
This is to recover the operating system in case something really goes
You're saving
poorly.
your butt. You may lose some things, but you're going to get back to a usable point, and that's what's really critical. This machine is down. It will not boot. You have nothing. This is going to get you back to a really good point in time where you can rebuild, and if you've got good backups, or if you have UEV and you're doing folder redirection, it doesn't make a difference because that data's not there. You replace the few apps, you're going to be ready to go. So again, it really is not just about the flexible work style, but having that flexible PC where if this PC dies, it doesn't make a difference. I boot up a new one, all my settings, everything's going to come over, and that's a really critical aspect of it.
So, another question along the similar lines that was asked here in our Q&A panel here is, can I do a rec image as a final task in deployment? Yes, absolutely. It's a command. MDT, just go ahead and run that command as one of the file tasks. You run it earlier if you wanted to.
And remember we talked about adding packages? That's where that would go, and that becomes one of the packages that you would deploy with MDT.
Yeah, absolutely.
UEFI, I think is
Man, I I really am excited about some of this stuff because a lot of the rootkit stuff that's out there, a lot of these things, UEFI BIOS when enabled, and by using things like Secure Boot and Trusted
System
Boot,
on a chip, for those who've been reading about SoC, system on a chip is part of this. Yep.
basically what it does is it goes through and it ensures the stuff underneath hasn't been mucked with.
Right.
Right? So today, I mean, we've got a great slide here that talks about the legacy BIOS, right?
Yep.
You've got the BIOS that goes and there's some sort of OS loader, and that's where a lot of times malware gets introduced is in that boot process, even before the OS even starts. With the new UEFI or modern boot systems, when the operating system...
And think of it this way, we're replacing BIOS with this new system on a chip BIOS. So it's a little bit different. So BIOS is going to go, it's being replaced with UEFI, sort of a kind of a simple way to look at it.
Yep. UEFI is actually going to verify that nothing's been mucked with. Right? Check that it's trusted, that it's secure, nothing's changed before it will actually allow the operating system to start. So if something's been messed with, it's not going to start.
And UEFI can self-check, which is a really critical piece.
Absolutely.
And the updates to UEFI are secure. People are saying, well, what if things change or there's new malware or viruses? There are secure ways to get to it, which yes, we can always say it's not impossible to get at, but it's incredibly, incredibly difficult. And again, if somebody's going to write a virus or piece of malware, they're going to write it for unprotected machines that are out there. Again, it's like saying, is any house, someone could break into any house, but the house that has 12 attack dogs, a lot of Klieg lights on it, and an armed guard in the front, I'm going to go for the house that's dark and wide open with nobody home. And that's really the way you're going to look at it. Why go through all of that trouble when you can really do it this way? So the updates to UEFI are secure. Firmware, drivers, authentication, OS loaders, they all have to be signed by a trusted authority. It maintains a database of trusted keys and image hashes, along with revocation database of untrusted keys and image hashes. So it knows which ones are good and which ones are bad. It can be updated with Windows Update. The Windows Update can provide updates for the UEFI firmware, drivers, applications, and OS loaders. And just as important, the revocation database for keys and image hashes can also be updated. It can also check its own firmware by using integrity checks and can self-remediate if there are unknown changes. UEFI can also recover the Windows Boot Manager if its integrity check absolutely fails, which is awesome. So the trusted bootloader is going to prevent unauthorized bootloaders. Measured Boot provides measures about the boot process, and we'll jump into this a little bit deeper, but the boot policy loads, UEFI boots, as you can see, the Windows OS loader happens, then the Windows kernel drivers, then our software and policies, then third-party software, all before the Windows logon happens going into client. All of this happens in about 3 to 9 seconds.
And it checks and it validates, right? It does those checks to ensure that nothing has been messed with inside of that system.
Every piece has to happen before the next one does incorrectly. Otherwise, it goes into a recovery mode, tries to fix, remove what's wrong, and it will self-heal itself, which is really absolutely tremendous.
Yep, which that really prevents a lot of this stuff that we've seen happening, with some of the rooting and stuff where stuff gets in even before an OS gets in there. So it ensures that operating system is starting.
Yep. So we're protecting against both known and unknown measures. Sorry, I went one slide too far here. So malware resistant by design and familiar tools that are updated for Windows 8, things that we already know, and it makes us very, very comfortable. And then once we get inside, we've got Windows Defender and the Windows Firewall and our Smart Screen Filter, which has been enhanced for Windows 8. Some people have been asking, well, can I install a third party? Well, sure, if you want to pay for one, knock yourself out, and Defender itself will say, oh, there's a different antivirus product that's been put in. I will go ahead and I will remove it. I will turn myself off while the other one runs. But what's great is if you want to install that other one's going to click back in. It doesn't uninstall itself. Firewall, we've done some nice things there as well. So if we take a look, at the slide here,
absolute flexibility here.
Yeah.
Yes, you can install something else if that's what you want, if your enterprise is running something else, but of course Microsoft always has the built-in stuff, and of course if you're in an enterprise and you're using System Center, We've got the endpoint protection.
Yeah, and then inside of IE10, we have every time you open up a tab, it is also inside of its own session, which is great, which makes it very difficult to exploit. Do not track capabilities are part of IE10. User interaction is required in order for a web page to gain access to the user data. So we've isolated the tabs in process, and this is really critical so that you used to get it once you hit the wrong button, all of a sudden you get 100 windows opening up on your screen, never close it. That's not going to happen because we're going to have that, and it can't happen because it's going to go in and the system says, hi, a user would have to hit this button over and over and over again for this to happen. So that's really great. And then when we talk about Windows 8 app protection, we have a strong screening process for Windows Store, which we've talked about. Low privilege capability, so it really is limited to what it can do, and very, very discrete app containers within there.
Yep, absolutely. The bar is set very high in terms of Windows Store applications for those things. So we're heading toward the final stretch.
Yeah.
Down the stretch they come. We talked about some of the updated features for Dart in Windows 8. Showed you how even the new loader comes in for recovery, checking everything out there. Still very familiar tools. These are the same types of tools. Dart's, I mean, we've updated it. It's still relatively the same. You're still going to be using some of the firewall features and those Defender features that we have. BitLocker. We've enhanced BitLocker. Haven't completely changed it. Those enhancements have been extremely valuable, particularly when we keep mentioning, right? Only BitLocker, the stuff that that is actually got data on that drive, and then
unless you're going to be passing laptops out to folks, and you know what, if you've got the time, then go ahead and just encrypt the whole thing, and that's fine. But there is no need to do that if you're in a rush, and that's really a key thing as we get to larger media that you want to hand off to people to be able to do that.
And then trusted boot and protected boot. Absolutely key scenarios. Now, these are not just Windows 8 scenarios. These come from having UEFI and systems with UEFI.
Yep.
So I just wanted to be clear about that. But the absolutely key in kind of stopping some of this malware and some of the things that we've got going around.
And it's important to say that UEFI is something that Intel worked very closely with. And Intel, this is something that's on the chip. This isn't part of Windows or something along this. This is something that Intel is building into their chip platforms to ensure that level of security. We've had some people push back and say, well, this is Intel building this into their platform, doing this in partnership with Windows 8. So Windows 8, we're building upon the hardware changes that Intel and the various manufacturers have done to make the boot process and BIOS more secure, and really update BIOS. It's been around forever, and turn it go to the next generation of that, and then Windows 8 building upon that. So it really is that partnership there. It's not something that we've done or they've done. It's something that we've looked at together to make it safer. As people said, I love Windows, except I keep getting malware or spyware, and then my question is, well, where are you going that you're getting this? Or you got to learn not to click links. But the problem is, grandmothers clicking links and cute kittens will always be out there. So what do we do to help to prevent grandma? UEFI is there to protect grandma. Windows 8, there to protect grandma. And we want to protect grandma, don't you? So let's do a bit of a wrap up and kind of bring things together and get some thoughts.
Yeah, we've got a couple of things Q&A here. Tim Lucian asked a question. I'm really actually kind of curious if it's the same Tim Lucian I used to work with. But anyway, can UEFI be changed on all BIOSes to allow multi-boot system?
I don't believe so.
No, so typically what you have to do is you have to actually disable UEFI to do a multi-boot. So you want to be cautious on that.
But you may have some problems using some of the features in Windows 8 if you do that, so you got to be careful.
Absolutely. Apart from that, last call, get these polls done. Get your poll questions answered. A new poll will be coming up shortly.
Yeah.
We have gone through 6-ish hours, coming up 6-ish, 5-ish, I don't know, I've lost track.
Yeah.
A lot of hours, 6 modules talking about Windows 8 for the IT professional. We started off, we showed some of our favorite tips and tricks, some of our favorite shortcuts, kind of getting used to things. The reality is, just like a lot of the other operating systems, I noticed that when I went to Windows 7, I would never go back to XP because I get used
Office
to doing
Office 2010 took me quite a while to get used to because I was used to tools, mail merge, but once I kind of moved through that, it got a lot easier.
And the interesting thing is it really does not take all that long. You just get used to retraining yourself. That's basically it. We showed a lot of our shortcuts. Windows X, I'm a huge fan of Windows X.
I think there's a lot of really
Control-Shift-Enter. Yep, Control-Shift-Enter, typing on the desktop.
I think some of the key important things, and I'll kind of summarize a few things, which is Windows 8 is really built for how enterprises want to work today. We have that mobility, Windows to go, the mobile broadband features, how we're protecting and securing users, how we're enabling them to do things once, and then have that data move across wherever they want to go. It is a great keyboard and mouse OS as well as a great touch. It depends on how you want to use it, the types of apps that are being built and what's there, and we have such great hardware coming out over the next few months. It's really going to allow users to work in ways that they haven't even thought of. And I think that's when great, when technology gets people to open up and think about new ways of doing things, but also meeting the needs of how people want to work. And that's it. People want to bring their own devices. They want to work across 3 devices. They want that experience across all of them. And Windows 8 really helps to do that.
And IT wants to ensure that they have a good experience, that that experience is secured, that the data is secured, and we can truly, truly manage those things. And I think through the day here today, we've shown constantly, we always go back to that. Look, it's very simple to manage. It's very easy to do. We can give our users what they need. We can have these bring your own device scenarios. We can have Windows across multiple device form factors.
Exactly.
And when it comes back to those enterprise management capabilities, they're in there.
Yeah.
Whether or not you're coming out of the box using free tools like MDT, using our MDOP suite, and using all the way up
Windows
to System Center.
Intune, System Center, et cetera. So I think 3 key really good takeaways. Number 1, download the Windows 8 Enterprise Eval and the Windows Server 2012 evaluation. Play with this until you physically set it up. Really start to use it with all the features. When you can build Windows to go with the Enterprise Eval, the whole thing, do that. That's number 1. Number 2, get yourself to the resources on the Springboard series on TechNet. Go through these documents, walk through all of that. Number 2, the Microsoft Virtual Academy. We'll have some Windows 8 content and MVA.
Yes.
I think we're looking at early December. We'll have that. Lots of great stuff. There's these recordings that we've done. Ton of great information. And the IT Pro Camps, which are going to be starting worldwide, taking literally the content that we've done today and redoing it by the local experts for the local audiences. There are so many different ways to get involved in doing this, so many great devices coming out. And it's a very exciting time with Windows, new version of Windows, new version of Server, Windows Phone 8 just a few weeks away from coming out, new versions of MDOP that we're going to be releasing. We've got updates coming out to Windows Intune, System Center SP1, so much exciting stuff. It really
And
is.
hardware, baby.
And the new version of Office and lots of hardware. It's a very, very exciting time. There is a lot of change. The hardest thing for IT pros is you guys have got to settle your folks down, find a good program, train them, get them in front of them, play with it. And I'll tell you, I'm hoping a lot of folks go out and buy a Surface this Christmas. And much like we saw with Windows 7, where employees were coming back after that first Christmas the next month saying, hey, I've been playing with Windows 7 at home, and this Windows XP is making me crazy. That users were forcing that change as much. So when your CEOs and CIOs are walking in with these great devices and your users are using this at home, that convergence really starts to happen. And as an IT pro, you need to be ready for it. And with the end of XP coming, not that far away, you're out of choices. Get on 7, get on 8, but get off XP and show these great new devices to your salespeople, to your mobile workers, domain join, non-domain join, so many different opportunities.
You'll want to check out the resources, www.microsoft.com/springboard. Also check out the Microsoft Virtual Academy at microsoftvirtualacademy.com. And of course, you can check us out. I'm going to do a shameless self-promotion.
No, please go right ahead.
Channel9.mstn.com. Check out the Edge Show for all of your IT pro needs.
Hang on, let's see, windowsteamblog.com. Or you can go to the Springboard blog, go to the Springboard series to sign up for our newsletter, watch for your local step, and MVPs who are also doing great events locally. We want to thank them and support them as well.
And McGinley, Windows 8 does not come with unicorns. And with that, we are done. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. It was awesome, man.
Yeah, we haven't done this in a while.
Stephen.
Thank you.
I got to thank the guys at the back of the room.
Absolutely.
We got to thank
and
Jeff.
And gals. We have some women that are working back there too.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
all of our
Jessica.
Q&A folks.
Brandon.
Camera guys, unicorns, hearts on top of eyes. I'm done. That's it. We're out. Thanks for joining us on the Windows 8 for IT Pros Jumpstart. We'll see you soon.
I love Windows 8.